Hello and welcome to episode 6, Persian Nightmares. I am your host, the Gold Kulak himself, Dan Hill, and this, of course, is the Gold Kulak Podcast. First off, I'd like to apologize about not getting an episode out last week. I started my day job last week, and so that took up quite a bit of time, and I was trying to find something, desperately trying to find something that wasn't about Charlottesville to talk to you guys about. And anyways, it was darn near impossible. I didn't really feel like I had the time to do a philosophy, libertarian philosophy podcast. So I was looking for current events, hard to find something, kind of got an idea. But now we are introducing a brand new segment to the show, and I still need a bump for it, so this is going to be a little janky here off the start. But our brand new section is called Bullet Points, Bullet Points, Bullet Points. Anyways, basically what this section is, so I have opinions about all these things that are happening at the national level, these current events things that we're all hearing about that you can literally get anywhere else, but I still have one or two quick things that I want to include with them. And so this is what this is just a really quick way for me to get my thoughts out into the world, into the ether, for you to listen to, but us not spend a whole show on something that you could literally go anywhere else and get. Because I would like to still address current events, I like to talk philosophy and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to be repetitive, I don't want to be redundant, I want to give you a reason to be here, content-wise. So, without further ado, we're starting the first bullet points. So, free speech is free speech. This includes hate speech. Okay, I find it mind-numbing, literally mind-numbing that the KKK and Nazis could openly march in 2017. Like, it blows my mind. Like, this is something you read about in history books, the people putting the sheets and the pillowcases on their heads and doing the march down in Washington. But this is 2017. Blows my mind, right? But they still have a protected free speech. Because first off, there's the tried and true slippery slope narrative that, hey, we ban these people from saying this awful stuff now, and it's only going to be used against you later when you oppose the guys in charge. When you're saying something bad, then this is hate speech now, because you're saying something bad about the Republicans or the Democrats or whoever's in charge at that point. The Green Party. You have forsaken the Green Party. Hate speech. Prison. Okay, there's that argument, obviously. But what I would also like to argue is the fact that if we ban hate speech, we don't know those people exist. Like, I'm sure we all know there's racists in America, but I don't think we realize that there was, really racists in America until we see them marching down Charlottesville with a Nazi flag shouting white power and you will not replace us and things like that. And I honestly believe, and I tweeted something similar to this out, and I spoke about this in episode 5, not directly, but that's basically what I was implying if you go back to it. There was more done in favor of civil rights this weekend than there has been probably the last few decades, because now the BLM has an actual enemy. There are actual racists to fight, and we can argue all day long about who caused what, is identity politics resulted in this, or, whether or not BLM came from actual racism or not. I mean, it's a dog chasing its tail at this point, but I think this does give some credence to the BLM movement, and anyways, this will do more to advance civil rights and the ability for people to claim equality or be equal under the eyes of everybody than anything else that's happened, any legislation that will go on. If you ban hate speech, this never happens, and I think this is a bigger step forward for civil rights than we've had in a very, very long time. Like I said, one more shameless plug. Please go back and listen to episode 5, Civil Rights and Libertarians. I argue about why basically the African Americans, they formed a civil society and through their civil disobedience actually gained more rights than the government allowed them. Okay, so that was bullet points. That's the end of it. That's all I have to say about that. Good news, I got this done in under about 5.5 minutes. So now moving on to the namesake of this episode, Persian nightmares. And now I don't think this is an immediate threat, but it's going to be a talking point in the future and possibly a threat in the future because it is kind of boiling underneath. Because now all we hear about is Russia, North Korea, and now Charlottesville and racism. But this is Iran. They have been very, very aggressive militarily the last few months, possibly even longer. This is just how long I've been paying attention. And the nuclear deal is kind of the thing that's floating this whole deal along right now, I think, and the reason why this isn't more mainstream news. And it's because their nuclear program and the Iranian nuclear deal is different than North Korea. North Korea, they want their nukes. They want a nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile for deterrence. All Kim Jong-un is worried about is making sure his regime survives. He's not stupid enough to know... Well, excuse me, I misspoke. He's smart enough to know that if he attacks America first, that's the end of his regime, and China is not going to back him. They've been very vocal about this. What he wants is a reason for America to not attack him because he could either blow up all of South Korea with some nuclear weapons, or he could attack America's mainland. And if you have enough nuclear weapons, even the most advanced at this point in time, the most advanced missile defense system is not going to protect you from that. So it's an entirely different situation because he's looking for deterrence while Iran was looking for concessions. They wanted the bargaining chip, like we're either going to be nuclear or you're going to give us what we want, which is what they got. Like they were successful. And they've been much more aggressive in military operations in that region than I think what most people realize. Because, like I said, I've only been paying attention for about the last 8 months or so. And there have been several interactions between Iran and the American military that I think are noteworthy. There's been several Iranian vessels that have played chicken. So, like, their boats have been literally playing chicken with American Navy warships. Okay, they, like, charge Navy warships, and either the warships have had to fire warning shots to get the Iranian vessels to turn away, or they have, the American ship is actually turned. There has been a drone that charged a U.S. plane trying to land on a carrier. This is just a plane trying to land, and there's a drone flying at it. Very dangerous. Also, there was a drone that had its marking lights off in the dark. It buzzed a United States ship, which goes against correct drone conduct according to the United States. Of course, the Iranians said we were operating within international law. That's the way those arguments are going to go. And I think, and this came from an Israeli news source, but the Iranians have actually built a Scud missile base or a Scud missile facility. I think they're actually producing Scud missiles. I don't know if it's a launch site or not. But they've built this Scud missile facility in Syria. And obviously there's a reason why the Israelis are freaking out about this. Because that is directly affecting them. And I think this should worry you too. Because I personally believe, I don't have any definite source to back me up off the top of my head, But if we were to go to war, or if the Middle East, anyone in the Middle East, were to go to war, Iran specifically, with Israel, to try to erase Israel off the map, which has basically been that region's goal since the creation of Israel, we would end up in that war. Because regardless of our Israeli policy at the time, the second a bunch of innocent Jewish people in Israel start getting attacked, we are going to have to come to their defense. Because we've done it in Syria, not specifically to protect Jewish people, but we've gone to war to protect people in Syria, essentially. We did it in Libya, and we're doing it in Somalia to some extent, not necessarily to protect innocent people, but to affect world politics. And I think an Israel nation is beneficial for the United States in the Middle East. So we would end up in that conflict, which as a libertarian, I would be for avoiding any sort of conflict like that. So that is that, I guess. And I guess that's the points that I was wanting to make for this episode. Sorry, I got lost in my show notes there. But that's something to keep your eye on. This is a little bit shorter of an episode than normal, but something to keep your eye on. This Iran thing is boiling beneath the surface. It's going to come to a fevered pitch eventually, and we're going to have to do something about it at some point. Okay? So, you heard it here first. Keep your eye on it. Sorry this is a shorter episode. The good news is I'm going to get out probably Thursday a longer episode. So consider this your bonus episode as repayment for me missing an episode last week. Once again, this is Dan Hill. Please like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. I am on YouTube. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Google Play. I'm on Stitcher. I'm on the TuneIn app. Go leave a review on iTunes for me. I'd really super appreciate it. Really help me out. Subscribe on YouTube. Do what you need to do. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll talk to you again later.